Welcome to Get Your FRQ On. This question is from 2008. It is question 1 and it is calculator active. In the question stem, we are given the graph of two functions, and the region bounded by these two functions is shaded in and given the name R. In part A of the question, we are asked to find the area of R. Now, because this region R is bounded between two functions, we're going to find the area using an integral. We just need to know which function is on top and which one is on the bottom, and where they intersect. All right, so ultimately what we're after here is an integral expression of the form the integral from a to b of an upper function minus a lower function. We just need to determine which one is the upper, which one is the lower, and we need to determine where those bounds of integration are based on where the two graphs intersect. All right, so this is a calculator active question. Don't try to be super calculus student here. There's no need for that. For this particular group of functions, it's labeled that they intersect at 0 and 2. And based on knowledge of what these functions ought to look like when you graph them, we can find that integral as the integral from 0 to 2 of sine of pi x minus the group x cubed minus 4x. Don't forget to either account for the fact that that is a group or change that 4x into plus. When you have double subtraction there, you got to watch out. And then use your calculator to find the area. The area is 4. In part B of this question, we are asked to write an integral for the area of R that is below the line y equals -2. Notice the directions here are to write the integral. It is not to evaluate this integral. All right, so in order to write this integral correctly, we have to determine what the endpoints of our integral will be. When is this function below y equals -2? When is it equal to -2? When is it above y equals -2? So we have to do that, and since this is a calculator question, we can find these points of intersection using our calculator. When is the function in question going to equal -2? Well, x cubed minus 4x equals -2. If you use your calculator, you get two solutions. X equals 0.53918889, which we're going to call A, and x equals 1.6751309, which we're going to call B. Those are the bounds of integration that we need. And so the integral that would calculate the area of R that is below the line y equals -2 would be the integral from a to b of -2 minus the group x cubed minus 4x. And again, we do not need to evaluate this integral. We only need to write it. In part C of this question, R is the base of a solid. Cross sections taken perpendicular to the x-axis are squares. Find the volume of that solid. All right, since cross sections perpendicular to the x-axis are square, the height of that square is going to equal the length of its base. That's just because that's a property that squares have. All right, so the area of the square at any one of these cross sections is just the length, sine of pi x minus x cubed minus 4x squared. All right, so if I want the volume of that solid, I'm just going to integrate my area function, sine of pi x minus the group x cubed minus 4x squared, from 0 to 2. Now, notice in this question, we are asked to find the volume, not just write an integral that would find the volume. But since this is a calculator active question, use your calculator to evaluate this integral. All right, and the volume would be about 9.978. In part D of this question, we are told that R is the surface of a pond, and that the depth of the water at any distance x from the y-axis is 3 minus x. And we are asked to find the volume of the pond. Well, if the depth at all points a distance x units from the y-axis is h of x equals 3 minus x, then cross sections perpendicular to the x-axis would be rectangles. All right, so the area of these rectangles is something we should be able to find. All right, the area of one of those rectangles would be the height or the depth of that water, h of x times the length between the two curves, which is sine of pi x minus x cubed minus 4x. So the volume of the pond would just be the definite integral of this area function from 0 to 2. All right, so if I enter that in my calculator, the integral from 0 to 2 of 3 minus x times this giant sine pi x minus x cubed minus 4x function, and let my calculator calculate that for me, the volume of the pond is 8.370 cubic units, whatever that is.